Hello, everyone. I would like to welcome my listeners and viewers in the United States and all around the world. I am Vince Rocco, and it is Tuesday morning here in New York City. So let's go behind the headlines and get the real story. But first, this is Talking New York Real Estate, the state of our industry. And up front today, the TikTok generation and all social media is redefining success in New York City's competitive real estate market, leveraging the social media savvy to outpace traditional approaches. Young agents, often in their 20s and 30s, are capitalizing on the platform's vast reach to showcase listings, provide market insight, and build personal brands that resonate with a digitally native audience. And combining visually stunning content with creative storytelling, they attract clients who value accessibility, authenticity, and transparency. Viral videos and targeted hashtags allow them to connect with younger buyers and renters, while also catching the attention of seasoned investors intrigued by their innovative marketing techniques. This approach not only boosts their visibility, but also fosters trust and engagement, providing that adaptability and a strong online presence that can lead to significant success in the ever-evolving New York City real estate landscape. And I have a few of those experts with me today at the table. We will discuss, and we will have all that and so much more as Talking New York Real Estate gets underway on this very busy Tuesday morning, rainy Tuesday morning. And in the news this morning, well, nowhere is as picturesque as New York City during the holidays, with iconic attractions like the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree, the Bryant Park Winter Village, the Dyker Heights Christmas lights, and festive decorations brightening every street corner. Wherever you are looking for a cozy spot to sip on occasional seasonal cocktails or somewhere to enjoy over-the-top holiday-themed decor, New York City offers many options to reveal in holiday cheer. And if you would like to live in a grand Upper West Side mansion for less than $1 million, this four-room co-op at 280 West End Avenue rises to the occasion. It was built in 1887. The stately Romanesque revival mansion, once the home of the son and widow of President Ulysses S. Grant, according to the listing, holds a price of $839,000. It's key to Manhattan mansion living in the form of a one-bedroom home with an elegantly rounded bay window. That's interesting. And if you are looking for the perfect home in a historic townhouse in the West Village, you are definitely not alone. This two-family home at 12 Leroy Street embodies the dream with 4,300 square feet of tranquil interior space in the endlessly charming vicinity of Bleecker and Bedford Streets. Asking $8.75 million, the 20-foot wide property consists of a garden apartment and 4 renovated upper floors accessible via private elevator, several terraces, and a suitably enchanting landscape garden in the rear. Private equity honcho Jeffrey Leeds, the founder of Leeds Equity Partners, and his wife have relisted their duplex at New York's famed 740 Park Avenue for $24 million. That's down from $28.5 million. That ask was last year, according to StreetEasy. The high-gloss Upper East Side building is where Jackie Kennedy Onassis spent most of her childhood, as her maternal grandfather, James Thomas Lee, was the building's developer, and it is where the titans of industry have called home for many years. It has long had the reputation as one of New York's most elite co-ops. Leeds bought the 5-bedroom pre-war dwelling for $22.5 million in 2016. And finally, Golden Globe-winning actor Richard Gere has just sold the New Canaan property he purchased 2 years ago from multi-Grammy-winning singer and songwriter Paul Simon. The deal appears to have taken place off-market. While the identity of the new owner isn't immediately clear, the sale came at a slight loss for the Pretty Woman star. Property records show the home traded hands for $10.75 million, but in 2022, Gere and his wife spent $10.8 million for the compound. No tears here for any lost money. And with me today at the table is Mike Bussey from Real New York City Apartments, Adda Djeziri from Brown Harris Stevens, and Ryan Martin from Douglas Elliman, and they join me now.
Hey, it's Stephen Bailey from Roadway Moving and Storage. As an official moving partner of Brown Harris Stevens, we know that your clients deserve more than just a move. At Roadway Moving and Storage, we turn moving into an experience they will love. From specialized services to a white glove treatment, we've got it all covered. When you choose Roadway, you're choosing a peace of mind for your clients. Plus, our referral program is the most rewarding in the industry. Want to learn more? Shoot me an email at steven@roadwaymoving.com or visit roadwaymoving.com.
Okay, hi everybody. We are back. So we're going to talk about social media a little bit today. We're going to talk a lot about TikTok and a lot of the applications that are buzzwords today. Blue Sky. I just joined Blue Sky, the alternative to X, or which was former Twitter. So there is a lot to be said for social media. There's a lot to be said for TikTok in general as it relates to our industry here in New York City real estate. Well, real estate anywhere. And if you are a TikTok user, you see lots of stuff come across, on a regular basis. I'm not even going to say daily basis, but on a regular basis, by agents who are showing property tours, rentals, sales, luxury, whatever it may be. You've got it. And we're going to talk to Mike in a little bit about his success on TikTok because, quite frankly, it's a jumbo success. But Adda, let me start with you because you've got such a storied background. Okay. I'm proud of you. I met him in real estate school a while ago. Tell us a little bit about your past career, how it kind of relates to where you are today, and why did you choose to pursue a career in real estate and in New York City, of all places, the most competitive market in the world?
Well, first and foremost, thank you so much for having us, Vince. I think it's an honor and a privilege to be here. I was a pro soccer player 15 years, and when you're in it and that's all you've ever done.
You don't look that old.
I am old. 36, and
I wish.
It was something I always dreamt about, going the pro route. That was all that ever mattered to me, and worked day and night to accomplish it. And then I did it for 15 years pro. And then you have to reinvent yourself.
Tell us where you did it.
So I went to the Premier League really, really young. Premier League is considered, the ones who doesn't know, it's the best league in the world in terms of spectators, in terms of the financials, the exposure. So a really, really good time I had. But then, like I said, once you finish, you have to reinvent yourself and figure out what the next step is. And I was interested in real estate.
Why New York City?
Because there's nothing like it. I watched the movie Home Alone 2 when I was 5 years old. I'm not even joking. I'm not joking. And I asked my dad, where is that? And he said, it's a place called New York City. I said, I'm moving there one day. Obviously couldn't make it happen because I was playing, but as soon as I was done, I convinced everybody that I was doing it, and I did it.
Okay, as I said before, New York City is quite the place. We all know that. I teach school, and he knows in the background over there, it's the greatest melting pot in the world. It's the largest city in the world from a financial perspective. I mean, it gets the attention of everybody around the world, and everybody wants to move here, and everybody wants to live here. But when you start in real estate in a town like this, first of all, I also say many, many times, the way we transact real estate here in New York City is vastly different, far different than any place else. Just 30 minutes up the road in Westchester, in New Jersey, wherever it may be. Very, very, very different. Complicated, okay? Long process. So if you're willing to sign up for that and focus, you'll do well. Mr. Ryan, you too, you're fairly new in the business.
Yes.
You chose a career in real estate as well here in New York City. Tell us why.
Yes, so I have heritage as part Chinese, part Italian. So both sides of my family actually were in real estate before I started. And that really inspired me to start in New York City. And New York City especially, like Adda was saying, it's very fast-paced, energy-driven. And that just drives my entrepreneurial spirit. I wanted to take advantage of that and capitalize on that energy. So I took advantage of the New York City market.
But when you look at the whole of, how real estate is transacted here, as I said a minute ago, it does get complicated, okay?
Yeah.
And do you ever feel overwhelmed with not knowing enough or not getting there fast enough with what you think you may need to know to get out there every day and to be successful? Or do you just kind of say, hey, you know what? Here, it's Tuesday morning. I'm up. I'm out. Feet on the ground. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, that's the mentality, right? So you're doing it and you're learning as you're doing it. That's the way I've always seen life. You learn by doing it. Of course, you try to prepare yourself as much as you can, but it all comes down to just doing it and learning as you go, essentially.
All right. So you say, you've got a family background in real estate, so you're familiar with the whole genre of New York, of real estate.
Yeah.
So, any personal experiences that you may have remembered growing up with family in the business that inspired you, or is it just something that, you always said, hey, I'm going to continue, I'm going to do the same thing? Yeah.
So on my mother's side, the Chinese side of my family, they actually owned a big chunk of Canal Street. They did give it up, so unfortunately we don't have it anymore. But
gave it up.
They did. They sold it a while back, but they had some commercial places there. They sold, random things, and they made a lucrative business off of Canal Street, but then they gave it up. And on my father's side, they actually owned 10 Montague Terrace, very famous historic building. So it really ran in both sides of the family, and it just inspired me. So,
Mike, you're not as new to the business as these guys here today, but you have a great story as well. And I know I've asked you this before because you've been on the show before, but give us a little bit of a background as to why you decided to get into the real estate business, again, here in New York City and at a young age. We're going to get into social media in a minute, but just to kind of get a background of these guys or where they come from, what inspired you rather to get into the business, and what continues to inspire you?
Yeah, so I got into real estate out of necessity. Like same as you, I just wanted to move to New York. I went to college in Massachusetts and I hated it. So, I applied to schools in New York, I got in, and when I was here, it was either, I get a job at Starbucks or some guy gave me a great opportunity to get into real estate.
I like when you tell me that at Starbucks or in New York City real estate. Very, very close.
Yeah. I mean, both sales, And, I took the opportunity to get into real estate, and I didn't know how long it would last. Now I'm really in it. It's been, 3.5 years, give or take. And so not a terribly long time, but I love it. I don't know what else I would do. I recently had a conversation. They asked me, what would you do if you weren't in real estate? I'd probably be unemployed. I don't know what I would do, genuinely. So I stay in it. It's the most entertaining job you could ever have. You're constantly engaging with your people.
To be in it is to win it. You have to stay. This is a career, I think, that once you get into it, you have to stay in it to find that long-term success. None of this happens overnight. None of this happens tomorrow. And for those who say, "Oh, I'm going to kill it this year one," well, maybe you do. Hopefully you do, but probably not. You've got to stick it out. But what about the New York City marketplace? I mean, you come from out of New York City, but what about the New York City market is attracting you? Is it the vibrancy of the beat of New York every day, the competitiveness of it, the dynamic environment of New York City?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in the business 22 years, and some days I wake up and say, "Oh, yeah, again today, really?
Yeah.
Too much for me."
Something that really keeps me in New York is, something you said earlier. It's so different than anywhere else in the world, where I truly believe that here in New York, the apartments really sell themselves. So my job is just, can I put that apartment in front of the right person who wants it? So it's not like I have to be some used car salesman being like, you have to do this, putting on scare tactics. If someone loves the apartment, they're going to take the apartment. So it's my job to find the right person, and facilitate that transaction.
The first manager in my company here who hired me said that to me on day one of interview. You're not a salesperson. I came from 20-something years of selling technology, okay? You're not a salesperson. You're a marketing person. And I looked at him thinking, anybody in mind?
Yeah.
I'm a salesperson. Got to sell an apartment. And he was absolutely correct.
Yeah.
As you just said, the apartment's going to sell itself. You have to find ways to bring people into that apartment, into that listing, and let the apartment do its magic. Now, we can't be idiots, right? We can't be banana heads, but we have to let people kind of explore on their own and fall in love on their own. Adda, so you've been at it now for a little while. You observe a lot of people, here in the office who've been doing this for a long time. What have you culled from their experience? I mean, when you look at their successes, or at least their movements every day, what do you say to yourself, and how do you kind of strategically plan to get there?
I think it's like anything else, right? I think if you want to reach the top, you have to really put in the hours. I try to be the first one in every single day. I turn on the lights, and then being around the big brokers, I go knock on the doors. I ask questions. Everybody here at Brown Harris Stevens, thankfully, are so wonderful and are willing to help. So that's really good.
And does it inspire you to kind of say, "Hey, I think I made the right choice. Hey, I think I want to continue moving forward. I'm going to kill this at one point." Or does it just say, I'm still in my learning phase? Or both, actually?
Well, I've always dreamt big. I don't think you should enter any business unless you shoot for the skies, right? So the same way I succeeded in soccer, I'm going to succeed in real estate, which is, you put in the hours, you learn, you stay humble. And then I think eventually people will see what you bring to the table. And it's just about being patient and being able to listen and learn. That's it.
Ryan, so based on what Adda just said, how we learn this business. I mean, any career that we get into, we have to learn the business. I was a salesperson in technology. I knew nothing about technology, okay? So you learn it. So how did you prepare? Education, mentorship, whatever. How did you prepare to be in this field at a young age? Very competitive marketplace, as we've already determined. How did you prepare for that?
Yeah, so I mean,
And
I'm
how do you
still-
stay prepared?
Yeah, I'm still in school at Northeastern. I should study economics.
Great
so,
school.
Yeah, and so I'm in the business realm essentially in college. But as far as real estate goes, I didn't particularly study for real estate. I just took the test, passed it my first try, and it's good just getting in the market and just learning how to do it. And when you're around all these big brokers at a big office, it really does help, and it helps you learn all the tricks and tips on how to do it.
And you're working with an experienced, very successful agent
Exactly, yeah.
at Douglas Elliman, who I guess you can say is a mentor when you need that.
100%, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
We have a guest behind the camera here who you can't see, but we were talking about it the other day in school, where you learn not from the books. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
anybody can go and take a sales 101 class in whatever it is you're going to be selling at one point, but it's feet on the street. It's on the job training. On the job training. There's a phrase that I used to hear in corporate world forever. You don't learn the product. You don't understand the market until you actually get out there and do it.
Exactly.
You're going to fall down, and you're going to make a couple of faux pas. But it is what it is. Mike, again, 3.5 years, 4 years in the business. You've gone through the mentorships, but I think we still get mentor. I mean, I still look for mentors
Without a doubt,
from time
yeah.
to time. Does that still work for you as you're pursuing something new every day?
Yeah. So, there's people in the industry, such as yourself, that every time I get the chance to chat with you or them, I'm always asking things. I'm always wondering, because, again, real estate changes so fast. We're here talking about social media. Social media really flipped real estate on its head. It's become a very different environment. So I'm always learning, trying to understand. Because, again, in my opinion, 4 years in the industry is not enough to become like the expert, So maybe in 10 years, ask me the same question.
Hey, listen, like I said before, 22 years in the industry, and I still look for mentorship. I still
Yeah.
ask questions. I mean, if you can't feel comfortable asking a question, we don't know everything. We absolutely don't know everything. So you need to find out, especially, in our industry when we go into different neighborhoods, brand new neighborhoods, right? Different price points.
Yeah.
Every client in a different neighborhood in a different price point is different, right? You're selling a $5 million apartment, that client's going to be a lot different than a $500,000 studio, right?
Absolutely.
The $500,000 studio person probably hasn't been around very long. Maybe that was their first foray into, the New York City marketplace. $5 million, they probably started with a studio and, moved up along the line. So we've got to align our approach to people based on that. But, there are challenges too, and I see challenges in even after 20 years in the business for me. What challenges do you see out there that maybe you feel like you can't overcome or you will over time? Are there any?
So we're really diving heavily into sales. It's, we genuinely became experts in rentals. It's, you're kind of doing it in your sleep at some point. So a big challenge for us is really understanding, how do we become the best in the sales process? How do we have a client reach out with a $10 million budget and within the first 3 tours show them, like, I know what you want, I know how you want to buy, I know what's best for you. So that's a big challenge that we're facing right now. But, in a year, I'm sure.
That's newness.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
That's something new. That's expanding. That's growth. And we talk about growth all the time, right, in any industry that we're in. So growth is what do I say? Life is change. Growth is optional.
Yeah.
Right? So you're either going to grow because you want to or you need to or you're not. Life changes. So you either grow with it or you don't. All right, we've got to take a break. We're coming right back after these messages. We're going to get into TikTok. We're going to get into Instagram, social media, and the success of these agents right after this. Don't go anywhere. This is Talking New York Real Estate on the More Network. We'll be right back.
This beautiful set here at Studio 1873 is brought to you by the Everset. The Everset provides full-service staging and furniture rental solutions in the New York area. For more information, please visit us at staging.theeverset.com or email us at staging@theeverset.com to request a free proposal.
Okay, everybody, we are back. So, Ryan, let me ask you, are there specific skills or traits that, before we get into social media, specific skills or traits that you believe are essential for young agents, right? You're still learning, learning how to, walk the streets, as I say, but are there any, essential skills that younger agents need to kind of adopt to kind of get through their day?
Yeah.
Trying to find business, but also navigating along with the more experienced agents out there that you bump into or run into?
It's complicated because many people have to have the traits to even participate in real estate at such a young age. I would say it's mostly just having that energy, bringing it every single day, and be able to hustle, in the New York City market. it's tough for many people to actually keep up with the fast pace. You know, if you're doing buyer tours in Manhattan, you're driving buyers around. It's very complicated to find parking per se, right? Just a little bit, right? And
just a little bit.
Yeah,
I don't do that, but yes, just a little bit.
It is very tricky, and you have to have that fast-paced grit to you to keep up with the market and the changing trends of it. So,
Ada, what about you? What kind of, in your mind, just beginning, what are some of the essential skills that you think younger agents in the business need to have?
Well, I think, me starting out, I just moved to New York 6 months ago, too. So you want to build a network for me. And on top of that, you have to learn a brand new business, which has been challenging, But again, I'm invested in the long term. I'm invested in my personal growth always, whether it's real estate, whether it was soccer. I'm always trying to improve. And yeah, so that's what I think.
Aside from the real estate industry, because I look at some of your social media stuff, and are you loving New York City? Only being here 6 months?
I mean, there's nothing like it, right? I tell my wife, I've been to 77 countries. I don't know how many cities, but this city just gives me, it's everything.
I can see that in your postings, and I can see that, whenever I talk to you. And this is why it is, the city of, I call it the city of angels, okay? Everybody wants to be here. Everybody needs to be here. And for that beat and that buzz and that vibe. What about you, Mike? What would be the essential characteristics of a younger agent to become successful? Again, you're at it longer than these guys are. You've formulated some kind of strategy.
Yeah. So something that I always think about is I love when someone new comes into an industry and they don't know what questions have already been answered. So they're always trying a million different things, whether it worked in the past or not. So that was something great. I remember, when I started social media, the broker that I was working with was like, "That's a horrible idea. Like, it's been tried. It never worked." But I was so new that I was like, "I'm just going to try it. What am I going to lose?" So, being willing to go in and learn, being willing to fail, being willing to, stress yourself out and kind of burn yourself out sometimes. I think that's what's going to make a great agent. Don't try too hard to burn yourself out because it sucks. But
burnout's not fun.
It's not fun. No,
it's not fun. No. All right, look, we're going to talk about social media, and here's the guy to talk about it because I met him on social media. You actually came to me first, and we talk about that every time we do this show and every time Mike is here. I am so impressed with this guy, it's not even funny. How has social media, particularly TikTok, changed the way real estate is done here in New York City? Mike runs a very successful site called Real New York City Apartments, okay? So if you haven't found it, find it. And you'll learn everything you need to learn about New York City rentals. But, how has it changed the way we do business? Again, I'm in the business 22 years. Social media, you never even heard of the words, okay? Let alone spell the words, let alone, utilize platforms. You do it, and you do it expertly. How is it changing our market?
Yeah,
and I think from a permanent perspective.
Okay. Oh, without a doubt. The introduction of video was a big thing for us. So I remember going on Street Easy, and all the photos were airbrushed. They put in fake furniture. It didn't represent the apartment where I would have buyers or renters go in and be like, "Where am I?" Like, they would take a studio and put a bed, take the bed out and put a couch. So it looks like a one bedroom. Oh boy. So yeah. So what we did was, we went in, it's a 1 minute long video. There's no cuts. There's no editing really. Sometimes we'll speed it up if we have to. And that allows people to see the video and know exactly what they're getting. So they're very excited. They go on one tour. They go, "Yep, this is the apartment, done." So it really speeds up the process a lot. But more than anything, you have to know a lot about New York City to actually get to Street Easy. When I was looking for a New York City apartment, I ended up on RentHop, I ended up on Facebook, but people are just naturally on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. So it's really easy. I think we reached 40 million individual people in the past year. And a lot of them...
I told you I was impressed.
A lot of them, weren't even going on Street Easy yet. They didn't even know about Street Easy. So it's great. And it's a very global audience because New York City is such a global city.
Half the time in our industry, people don't even know about Street Easy, as you say, because they've never looked for an apartment before. And until someone tells them, "Oh, you're looking for an apartment, go on this app or that app." With the advent of TikTok, that's everybody's go-to. That's everybody's first thing in the morning. middle of the day, end of the day. So if they start seeing apartment things and they're going to contact you. They're not even going to think that they need to go to a different application to find something.
Yeah,
right?
and one other thing I always like to note is, we've built such a brand, and we've been so lucky to build such a brand that people want to work with us. If they know they're moving to New York City in a year, I've had people tell me they put it in their calendars to reach out to me because they want to work with us. They love the apartments that we post. They love how we're really straightforward in anything. We don't fluff pieces. So that's really changed a lot. Is when I say to people, hey, if I help you with a rental, there's going to be a broker's fee. They don't even think twice. They're like, yep, no worries. If I'm going to pay it to anyone, I want to pay it to you. And that's been a huge thing.
There's something about TikTok really that's interesting. I was kind of a naysayer in the very beginning, but for the last, year, I've become such a supporter of it. I mean, I really have because, look, you hear on television all the time, it's where people get their news from. Yeah. World news, local news, political news, no matter what it is, they're getting their news from TikTok. I mean, there's good and bad on that, of course, just like anything else, but why not real estate?
Yeah.
And Instagram, the same thing. Ryan, what about you? What are your thoughts on how, social media, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, and Facebook seems to be making a comeback a little bit more when it comes to real estate. What are your impressions on how social media is really affecting and or changing this industry? Again, brand new, but you can see what it's doing.
100%. It's very challenging to get that established following that you, I think, have. I'm more familiar with Instagram.
His following is off the charts.
Quite large, right?
Yeah.
Mine is still developed, right? We're still developing mine, but it's like all reputation building. You don't, start with the goal of trying to get buyer leads or seller leads.
Reputation. Mm-hmm.
Right, 100%.
Relationship.
And building that network that you can build off of, essentially, and work off of. For me, that's where I'm kind of starting. I'm not really working on buyer leads from social media, and I'm more familiar with Instagram. TikTok, I know you can become viral very easily. Instagram, it's a little bit trickier, but TikTok is a very useful tool in that sense.
TikTok is phenomenal. Again, I've become quite the advocate of it. So, Adda, from your perspective too, social media is very important to all of us. Look, and it doesn't only have to be real estate. Social media is important in just letting people know who you are when you're building a reputation from scratch. When I remember going on listing appointments years ago when social kind of just began. And people would say to me things like, and I apologize if I mentioned this on the show before, it seemed like you have a great relationship with your dog. And I'd be like, excuse me? And I thought, how do they know I have a dog? And sometimes they'd call out my dog's name, Jet. He's no longer with us. And then I'd be freaked out thinking, okay, what don't I know? And maybe my face told the story, and they'd come back and say, I saw you on Facebook, And you think about, when you have a new client, right, customer, buyer, whatever they are, what do? You Google them and you look them up, right? So if a seller is inviting me into their home to talk about selling their apartment, you don't think they're Googling you and looking you up? So aside from having presence on social media, that's very important, you got to do it right. What is your impression on how social media can and will continue to help us grow this business?
To be honest with you, it's a little bit embarrassing because when I was an active soccer player, fans for the different teams I played for would always complain that I didn't have social media. Everybody else would.
But they still liked you.
They still liked me, but I never had it. And then I started in real estate, and the first thing that my sales manager, Itzy, told me, she's wonderful, by the way, she told me is...
We love Itzy.
Yeah, you need to be on social media is what she told me, because that's how you get your name out there. You have an interesting story. But if nobody knows you, that doesn't matter. So slowly I'm starting. I still think the majority of my network doesn't still know that I'm doing real estate. They still consider me as the soccer player. So it's going to take some time.
Well, and that's not a bad thing if they still consider you, a soccer player. But when you transition from that super successful, career endeavor to a new career in real estate, I kind of think that's going to just flow right over. And you'll find that people will be very receptive of that. Look, as I've told our guest who's behind the cameras here today, we are our own calling card. You can hand out a business card. You can hand out whatever you want to do. The card gets lost. It gets filed in a drawer, thrown in the garbage, whatever. But you are your own calling card, right? Our reputation precedes us. So when you put yourself out there in ways that are memorable. And that's another word I love to use all the time, memorable, okay? We have to be memorable every time we leave the room. We have to be memorable every time we walk into a room. You know, in the past, it was more difficult because we didn't have social media. Today, we do. And today, we have that calling card to put out there. And people say to me all the time, but I'm not quite sure what I should post out there. And I think, okay, well, you are in a business, right? Where you're selling real estate or renting real estate, whatever it is, but you're also who you are. So aside from branding, and that's a topic for another show, we'll talk about that a little bit with Mike, but branding is important. And once you brand who you are, it's easier to put yourself out there, and it's easier to get the attention that you're looking for. Ryan, do you feel like you have any specific advantage by using social media over those who do not use social media? Because look, there's a whole pool of agents out there who have no interest in social media. I'm too old. I can't be bothered. I don't know what to do. I can't get from this screen to that screen. Okay, whatever.
Yep.
Advantages?
So I'm still in college, Northeastern University. I have that.
That flips me out, by the way.
That network essentially of
I
people
can't even
who are
remember
always,
those days.
Yeah, but you know, it gives me access to all those people who are regularly on Instagram or TikTok. And it gives me an edge in terms of how I can use that. I don't use it enough, I think. I got to further develop it, but I have access to that whole pool of people who are my age using that frequently. So,
yes, you certainly do. And to tap into that, it's amazing. Mike, though, you know, talking about content, okay, video, you mentioned it before, video, house tours, luxury homes versus, you know, what I call the meat and potatoes listings. You know, what are you seeing is trending more? As far as the content on TikTok? Is it luxury? Is it, you know, just apartment tours?
Yeah. That's a really great question. It's kind of like two bookends. Deals go super viral. You know, I just did a video where I was like, this is a townhouse you could probably afford. It was $2 million, but it was still a beautiful 4-story townhouse.
Yeah.
And that got, you know, 2 million views like instantly because everyone's like, oh, I can afford this. Most people can't afford $2 million, and I'm one of them, sadly. But
you'll be there.
Yeah,
you'll be there.
You'll get
no
there.
doubt about
Absolutely.
it.
At the other end, you know, a 2-bedroom apartment that's renting for $15,000 a month, people love that because people love views. They love the floor-to-ceiling windows. They love the luxury aspect. I think New York City is such a dynamic market, and it's so diverse that really anything that you post with consistency and quality will get views.
Consistency is the key, and quality also for sure. I just think that sometimes some of the content we see is like stuff that you can't see or don't see anywhere else. And all of our companies have websites, right? Mm-hmm. You know, we have a website here at Brown Harris Stevens. You put your video of your apartment up there. You put your, you know, your virtual tour maybe. But there's something about social media that resonates, right?
Yeah.
And it kind of sticks with people. They look at it. They may go back. I mean, I go back and look at your stuff a second time.
Thank you.
Well,
I appreciate the extra view.
Well, there you go. I want to be one of those 40 million. Okay?
Yeah.
But because, you know, it resonates or it makes sense. Not everything, of course. If you're looking for a specific client, whatever, it does. But I just find the whole trending of, and you know, trend is a funny word. I teach real estate trends in real estate school, and it's not the easiest class to teach.
Yeah.
Why? What is a trend?
Mm-hmm.
Right? How long do trends last?
Yeah.
I mean, in one day, it can completely change. So I don't necessarily know right now for me what the current trend is because I see so much. And that's the other thing I wanted to ask. On social media, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, whatever it is, why is it resonating so much with people? I mean, I like it because I'm in the industry and I can kind of relate to what my friends are doing and what other people are doing. But why is it resonating so much with people out there who have no idea what this industry is about? Because when you sign on to TikTok, for example, if you're not looking at a recipe, you're looking at real estate. I mean, because that's all that pops up.
It's all cooking for me.
It's all cooking.
It's cooking in real estate. It's so
I
funny.
love it. And I love it. And I get a lot of recipes from there. But the point is, that's all you really see because that's what people want to see.
Well, so your individual algorithm is catered to you. Correct. So, you know, it's probably football for you. It's probably Boston for you. Which is, I wouldn't want to watch those videos.
I love the fact that you call it football.
I wanted to, you probably have spent the past
American
6 months
football.
like translating it in your head.
Yeah.
I said soccer when we first spoke and I was like, oh God. So your algorithm is going to be catered to you without a doubt. But, and to your point, watching Home Alone when you were 5 years old, so many people have dreamed about living in New York City, and living in New York City, you need an apartment. So they've dreamed of what would my apartment in New York City look like. So anyone who sees one of the videos is going to watch it, and they're going to spend the time thinking, like, if I had $50 million, this is where I would live in New York. I could see Central Park. I could see the Statue of Liberty.
$50 million, like we're talking about $100,000, right? It's like amazing.
Yeah.
But your point is well taken.
Yeah. So and our philosophy is we cast a very wide net. We have followers who are probably 10 years old. We have followers who are probably 80 years old. So we cast a really wide net where we think.
I wanted to ask you about that, but go ahead.
Yeah, if we can create a video where anybody of any age, background, demographic, anything looks at it, they're going to want to watch it. If we show it to enough people, like I mentioned, at least one person out of, let's say 2 million people watch a video, at least one person is going to have the budget and the means and, the need for an apartment like that. So that's kind of our philosophy, is cast a really wide net, make it so entertaining that people can't click off, and you'll sell that apartment.
Before I move on, age, okay, you brought up age. So you get lots and lots of views, as you said, from 10 years old to 80 years old or whatever. What is the actual age range of people saying or clicking, hey, Mike, I like this, or hey, Mike, I'm interested in this, or even just liking? Do you have a sense of their age by looking at their photograph or whatever?
Yeah, just the people, like the true conversions, like the people that we've closed deals with, they tend to skew younger, which makes a lot of sense. It's the same thing, like, I'm sure 10 years ago, we were all a little iffy about buying something on Amazon, maybe 15 years ago now. It's a little weird, but people nowadays are totally fine putting their info into a form.
Who even thinks about it? It's like click.
Yeah. So I find, older people tend to DM me instead. They won't use the intake form. So we always say anything over 5 million, I get a DM, or they call me, which is always a little weird when someone calls me, because my phone number isn't super easily accessible. My face isn't super easily accessible.
We know that.
Yeah.
Getting better.
So that's what we find. I think people on the younger end are a lot more comfortable kind of shopping online, so to speak. But yeah.
But to tease you about the face and the phone number, I think, after thinking about this and knowing you for a while, I think your strategy is correct, actually.
You think so? Thank you.
I do. I'd like to see more of it, but I think your strategy is correct, because it really shouldn't be about you or what you look like, right? You're the expert. You're posting, you're showing tours, you're making yourself available for someone who wants to link with you to go and explore that further. So, you know what? I am slowly agreeing that I think that probably works for you and should continue.
Yeah, and it's not right.
A little bit of both.
Exactly. It's not right for everybody. Like I spoke with Bianca over at the Masters Division, and when she created the Masters Division, which is, I think, the number one team in New York City by volume, they are phenomenal. Awesome. She said to me, she was like, look, I wanted to make something that was bigger than myself. I didn't want it to be the Bianca team. Right. Same way I didn't want it to be like Mike. So Real NYC
Just
Apartments.
me, Mike. That's all.
So Real NYC Apartments was accidental when I made it without my face. When my girlfriend made a logo, which we still use today, and I think is great. It worked out really well, because now when we have such unbelievable volume that I can't keep up with, if Jacob and Dalton, who work with me, if they reach out to a client, people don't bat an eye. They're not expecting to work with Mike.
That's why I think it works for that reason, and we've talked about that before. But that's amazing.
Yeah,
because it absolutely is true.
And it was dumb luck.
Well, hey, that dumb luck works. Adda, how did you find your apartment here in New York City when you came here 6 months ago? I still can't believe it's only 6 months.
6 months. 6.5 months ago. And I knew somebody who had a vacant place. I got lucky. It's in Brooklyn. And we're loving it there. But as I'm slowly realizing, if Manhattan is where I want to become a big agent and do really well, I have to be here. So the wifey and I have been looking for the past 10 days, and I know a really good agent named Adda, so we'll see.
A real estate agent. We're looking for someplace new. Isn't that something? All right, with that, we're going to take another break. We'll be back after these messages. More with these guys. Social media is the topic. TikTok. This is the Talking New York Real Estate on the More Network. Don't go anywhere. We're coming right back.
What do you really need to know about buying or selling a home? First, it's serious business. And it's complicated. There's a lot of money on the table, and emotion too. You need an agent who knows the ropes. So, whether you're buying or selling your home, work with professionals who have a mastery of the craft.
And we are back. Okay, so Ryan, we talked about challenges. We talked about differentiating ourselves. You say that you need to get more of a presence, and you're building that presence on social media. But how do real estate firms, that we all work for, look at our being on social media? Do they want us to be there? And if so, how do you kind of sit back and strategize? What do I want to put out there? What do I want people to see? We're going to ask Mike in a minute about branding because he's done it expertly. How do you figure out what you want to show out there? And do you have guidelines from your company that you work for, or do you not?
Yeah, so I don't think we have much guidelines as far as social media presence. They definitely do prefer it. I know my old office in Queens, the manager always pushed us to do, push for Instagram reels and all that stuff, and just show our lives and look more familiar to just the daily person.
Show our lives.
Yeah.
Yes,
and
I
just,
agree.
Just like share what we do on a daily basis and look regular, right? We don't want to look like we're through a corporate lens. So you want to show your life and don't look like a real estate agent online. Look like a regular person. So
that's exactly correct. That's well said, because I think we do the same thing here at Brown Harris Stevens. It's like, put yourself out there, be the person that you are professionally. Put your listings out there or whatever it is about. A lot of people say to me, even when I'm teaching social media in real estate school, yeah, but you know what? I'm not a listing agent. I don't have a lot to post about. And I say all the time, but you are a professional in an industry that has captivated everyone's attention around the world. New York City real estate is a fascination around the world. Talk about market reports. Talk about, where the market is right now. Talk about numbers. If you have a listing, that's great. If you're trying to attract buyers, put things out there that buyer will say, hey, he sounds like he's credible or she's credible. Maybe I want to work with him or her, right? You got to put it out there. Mike, talk a little bit about branding. I'm a big branding person. This show started 10 years ago, okay? And, I didn't necessarily start the show for branding purposes, but as the show kind of ran on down the road, I'm like, okay, so now I'm establishing a very well-established brand in New York City real estate, around the world in real estate in general. So the brand is so well defined and has been now for many, many years. And it's important for people to want to continue to come back. Your site, has tremendous branding. You've done a really good job with that. How did you do that? What kind of importance do you place on that?
So now I guess I know a little bit, but starting out, I knew absolutely nothing about branding. I got really lucky. My girlfriend, Pia, is a genius at branding. She's phenomenal at it. She does it for a living. And my brother is like an expert in marketing. He runs social media marketing for Jacob & Co. They sell like $500,000 watches. Mm-hmm. So, I was so lucky that I was starting this, and I went to my girlfriend and my brother, and I was like, what do I do here?
How do I do this?
It's tough, but, maintaining a brand image and really deciding what you want your brand image to be is a very challenging thing, because Jeff Bezos has this great point where they talk about it in terms of doors, where you can go through a door, and if you're able to come back, it's an easy decision. But if you go through a door and you can't open that door again, it's like a very permanent decision. And branding is a very permanent decision sometimes, because, Real NYC Apartments, I can't change that name. I can't really change my logo because people know it now. So changing up my branding after the fact is very tricky. I do want to note something that Ryan said. I totally agree with, showing off the personal side of you. People want to work with someone that they like. Our mutual friend, Alexander, does a phenomenal job. And it's something he taught me.
Unbelievable.
He's phenomenal.
He's
on
so
his
personable, but he's such a character, and he's
the nicest guy in the world.
Oh, I love him. Love him.
But on his Instagram stories, he posts. He's training for a marathon in, I want to say, Minneapolis or something.
Someplace, Midwest.
Yeah, Midwest.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But every day I open his Instagram story, and it's him as a person, not as a realtor, running 20 miles.
Yep.
And I'm like, this is the coolest thing. And every time I hear about running or this or that, I think about Alexander. So imagine as a client, every time you hear about the New York City Marathon, you're like, oh my God, I should just call Alexander. It's so smart.
Well, that's why I said earlier, our reputation precedes us. It's what we put out there. We need to be memorable. That's my biggest thing these days, and I think you've heard it before. It's the biggest thing on my mind these days. You must be memorable because we have competition. We have, what do we have, 35,000 agents in this town? 35,000 agents, just like Hollywood. It's the 80-20 rule. 20% of the actors are working, 80% are not working. Same thing here in real estate. But there are still 35,000 of us, right? Ryan, branding, when you think about it, you're just beginning. You're just beginning in the career. You're just beginning in social media. Do you put effort into or thought into how do I want to put myself out there? And how do I want to do that?
Definitely. It's something that you have to test out as you do it. You can't really see the end goal until it happens. So you always want to just be careful with every step you take and just be mindful of what you're doing on the whatever platform you choose.
Mindful, professional, and again, I always think of the end game. You're putting something out there, but it's the old thing like, you answer a problem with a solution, right? You put the problem out there, but nobody wants to hear about only the problem. They want to hear about, all right, here's the problem, but here's how I'm going to fix it. Solution. What do you think, Adda, about, branding for you? Again, you have a tremendous athletic background in soccer, superstar, retired. Retired. I said the word retired. Okay. How do you translate that to real estate from a branding perspective? Because you have a story to tell. And when you get that on social media, when you put that out there, people are going to say, hey, as Mike said before, I can relate to you. I can understand. When I think about sports, better. When I think about real estate, I'm going to think about you. How do you do it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying, right?
What are you thinking about doing?
I'm trying. I think what Mike has given us today is really valuable. I think, just getting the word out there more and more, consistency like anything else. I haven't been that consistent getting the word out. Something I want to improve on to build a brand.
Building a brand is everything, but we can sit here and say, though, that social media is completely saturated, right? Again, there are a lot of us. Most of us not touching social media, but a lot of us touching social media. But the industry is such a fascination, as I keep saying, around the world, right? But we're saturated here. When you're thinking about posting, when you're thinking about putting something out there for the world to see, and I say world, okay, how challenging is it to come up with something every day? Like, people always push me every day to post things based on this show or just in general about who I am, for the sake of the show and the benefit of the show. And I can tell you sometimes I'm sitting there thinking, what am I going to post today? I don't necessarily have something to talk about, or who really cares, But then when I look at the amount of people who look at it, I'm like, I guess there are people who care or wait to see what's coming next from Vince. I find it extremely challenging. Do you?
Yeah. Oh my God. When I started doing this, and again, I took a very different path. This is not anything I'd recommend. Well, maybe I would. When I started out, I was posting in a new apartment 3 times a day. These were all like open listings. There were rentals across the city. So once at 8 a.m., once at noon, once at 6 p.m. And that was brutal because it's not that it's hard to post a video. It's hard to say something interesting that provides value 3 times a day and make it different enough that people care. It is a very saturated market. My mother will send me like Jordan Silver's videos, who is a phenomenal agent at BHS.
Yeah, we love
and
him.
She's like, he's copying you. I'm like, he's been doing this longer than I have. A lot of people are posting New York City real estate.
Interesting how she's looking at him and comparing him to you.
Yeah, well,
her son.
Clearly, I'm the best realtor in New York City in her eyes. I hope. I hope.
Yes, you. My son. Of course you are.
But it's very challenging to do something totally different. Someone who did something phenomenal is Anthony Park, who I believe you know.
Absolutely.
He made this whole series.
He's working with his brother now, the Park brothers.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, good for him. Mm-hmm. He made this whole series where he would go into a $20 million apartment and speak about it as if it was his.
Yep.
And he made this
Still does.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just phenomenal. It's so original. No one really did it before. So props to Anthony for that. But it is very tough every single day. I just recently came off a month hiatus where I just didn't post at all And thankfully now I have kind of a stockpile of stuff that I
wondered
can
where you
post.
went. Mm-hmm.
I was in Hawaii. It was great.
I knew you were, but I didn't realize that you weren't posting at the same time.
Yeah. So it worked out well. But it's tough to answer your question.
Yeah, no. It's very tough. But again, we establish credibility. We establish a persona, right? I'm going to say something in the close that may, surprise people out there, not necessarily us. But one of the unfortunate things about, social media, I think, and probably TikTok, is the fact that the young folk who are really adopting these platforms so significantly, they're learning, they're growing up in the platform, and they're defining their own online persona, but at the same time, their own persona. So you've got to kind of watch a little bit as to how that's going to affect people long term. And we've all heard stories, but we'll talk about that after the break. But Adda, as you sit there and you think about, some people who are already, approaching super success on Instagram or TikTok, finding that business that we all, covet, that we all want. Do you get stressed at all thinking that, well, where should I really focus? Should it be social media first? Should it be TikTok? Should it be, finding that first or second or third client, or all of the above? I mean, even someone who's in the business 22 years, I sometimes sit back and think, what am I doing today? Where am I focusing today? Because it is one of those businesses that's so open-ended, right, and so flexible, you can pretty much go in any direction. But it can get frustrating. The challenge can get frustrating.
Very, and to just touch base on before what to post. I enjoy your pizza posts. It always gives me a smile
Spaghetti
on my
pie
face.
this morning.
Yeah,
Check out that one.
There you go. But I think for somebody like me, I think it's about building the network, which is something I prioritize the most to start off with. I like Instagram and I post. I try to do it regularly, but right now for me it's about knowing people, and yeah, that's it.
Ryan, what's your long-term strategy?
Long-term strategy, I would say just keep going with the flow, right? You have to just be quick to adapt to whatever comes your way, because you're never going to know what's coming your way.
I like that word, adapt, because you never know what's coming your way. But you find that challenging every day?
It's kind of built into my personality. I feel like you have to have that aspect
I suspect that is.
Yeah, you have to have that to take on New York City, let alone real estate. So, yeah.
Okay, and the frustration comes with what? Because as you indicated before, you're still at school at Northeastern. So you've got all that going on. You got finals coming up. You're working on a successful team at Douglas Elliman. How do you juggle that?
It's a lot. I mean, like Mike said.
I mean, I'd be going to bed at 7 o'clock at night. Okay, and I don't go to bed early.
Yeah, that doesn't happen very frequently for me. But as Mike said, burnout is a big part of the industry, and really pushing to make a statement in the industry, you got to have a little burnout. And I just managed that burnout very well. Change up the weeks, change up your schedule, and just go with the flow, and it works for me. So.
Mike, what is your long-term strategy? I mean, you've achieved success, and we've talked about how you went from ground zero to where you are today. But what's that long-term goal of yours?
Before I answer that, props to you, man, because when I was in college working in real estate, I just didn't go to class. That was my answer to not getting burnt out.
I could so see that. For me too.
Hey, I had a 4.0. I just didn't need to go to class. I got lucky. So long-term, we just want to continue growing, continue producing great high-quality content, and providing a phenomenal experience. We want to grow our team. There's a lot to do. I say this to you all the time. Every time we chat, I want to get my face on camera a little bit more, just so that people can kind of, associate me with the brand a little bit.
Anytime you want it.
Yeah,
you were going for.
This is my favorite thing in the world, coming on this podcast. So thank you for having me. But yeah, long term is genuinely, just like you said, adapt to changes, really continue to grow. Social media is a very exponential game. It's not linear in any way, shape, or form. So, right now we're sitting at 160,000 followers, but that just compounds and compounds and compounds. So, and it's funny because see what you
got to look forward to?
But in the grand scheme of things, I'm a very small account. Like Alexander has 1 million. Jordan Silver, I think, is over 200,000.
But look where you are in that short 3-year period, okay?
Yeah, well, it's been 18 months on social media.
Only
a little over.
Okay,
yeah.
There you go. I'll take
it. But it
it
compounds quick. It took me forever, like 6-7 months to get 10,000 followers. Yeah, and then it was like 100,000, and then it kind of, And
isn't that defining number 10,000? Once you get to 10,000, it's like, hey, I've arrived.
I remember. So I remember calling people being like, I have 10,000 followers. I called Vince and I was like, I have 30,000 followers. And he was like, get out of town.
You see people sometimes, they post, yeah, thank you for the 30,000 followers. Thank you for the 10,000 followers. It's an accomplishment.
Yeah, it's a lot of people when you think about it. I mean, like, you were playing stadiums.
Right.
Well, like, imagine.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Can you
every
just imagine
day,
the difference?
which is wildly more impressive. Getting people to a physical location for something is
well, that's very true.
Very
but when you
different.
think about what we do to accomplish, the 10,000 or the 20,000 or the 30,000, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of accomplishment, and you get those numbers because people keep coming back because they like what they see. And if that's not the message with social media, I don't really know what is, right? Yeah. They come back because they like what they see. They want more. They want more. It's like your favorite television show that you watch, your favorite podcast, Talking New York Real Estate, right? You keep coming back for more. So, all right, to end it all, what advice would you give to other younger professionals coming from whatever their backgrounds are, whether it's sports or right out of school? What advice would you give to anybody considering a career in New York City real estate, knowing all that you know right now after 6 months?
Out of New York's real estate school, I knew this amazing woman who was so talented. She could have done amazing things, but she didn't. She thought it was going to be quick for her to make her first commission, and quickly she realized, I think 3-4 months in, that she wasn't making a dime, and she had to step out. So I think, not having to have that paycheck right away is important. I've been very fortunate in my career that allows me to not stress about that from day one. And then I think, learning.
You're not eating pork and beans. Okay, you can still have a good meal.
And then take Vince Rocco out for Shake Shack like I did. I think it's a great thing because that's when you learn. You ask questions, and people are willing, especially here at Brown Harris Stevens, people are willing to take the time, sit with you, and really learn.
We're fortunate.
The game.
We're fortunate.
Very fortunate.
Very fortunate. Yeah, I agree with you, Ryan.
Yeah, I would say similar to what you said. You should think outside the box. You took Vince out to Shake Shack. That's very creative. The way I met my team.
I love Shake Shack.
We had a good time, right?
We absolutely did.
Yeah. And the way
those
I met
burgers can't be topped.
The way I met my team lead, Gerard Smith, I just sent him an email out of nowhere saying I do his showings for free, and he said, come buy one of my rentals. I did. He liked my personality, my drive, and I just closed one rental after the other. So, just about thinking outside the box.
You have a future, I can tell. Mike, what when people come up to you and say, but Mike, you're so successful, what do I,
That's never happened. That has never happened.
What kind of advice can you give me as a brand new, someone interested in coming into this field?
Something that I wasn't told much when I started out, but I've found is to be the most important thing is real estate, in terms of working with other agents and brokers, is not a competition. It's a very collaborative industry.
Oh, absolutely.
So, something that I didn't do for 2 years was I never went to the broker lunches. I never went to the events. And now I realize that's where I meet the best people.
Networking.
Because absolutely. When I text, it's so easy. If I have a client looking for something very obscure, I have 30 people that I can text, go, hey, do you know anything? Do you have any ideas? And people are so willing to help, because I do the same thing in return. I always send them clients or business or anything interesting. So really collaborate with other agents. It's going to make your life a lot easier, but it's going to make the situation a lot better for your clients. And that's our goal at the end of the day.
We talked about that, right, in several of our conversations. The best way to learn the industry, the best way to network, the best way to learn who we are. It's more than just the apartment, right? It's about us. It's about loving your co-broker. It's about working with each other hand in hand. And I've said to Adam many times, you got to go to open house Sundays. Whether you have a client for that particular apartment, you just say, hey, I'm here to preview for a client. No one knows. That's how you learn. You want to go to a rental, same thing. I'm here to preview for a client. I did that for a very long time. My company at the time used to have tours every Thursday that took us around for an hour or 2 hours in different neighborhoods where we went to other agents' listings. It was a broker tour open houses every Thursday on the Upper West Side, Upper East Side, wherever it was. That's how I learned the inventory, because if you want to be successful in this business, it's more than just knowing, the detail. You have to know the inventory. You have to know what apartments look like, how they stack in a building, et cetera, et cetera. You only find that out if you do it on tours and networking and whatever. All right. We are coming right back with my thoughts for the week. right after these messages. Don't go anywhere.
Hey, it's Stephen Bailey from Roadway Moving and Storage. Listening to Vince Rocco, you hear a lot about how crucial it is to have the right partners in this industry. At Roadway, we don't just move your clients, we give them an experience they'll love. Specialized services to our white glove treatment, it's all about making sure your clients feel taken care of every step of the way. And if you're looking for a rewarding referral program, reach out to me at steven@roadwaymoving.com or visit roadwaymoving.com.
Okay, everybody, we are back with my closing thoughts for this week. So, growing up in a world of social media has profoundly shaped the way younger generations experience life, communicate, and form their identities. That's right, I said form their identities. From a young age, platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat have provided instant access to information, trends, and connections, creating a digital environment where personal milestones and daily moments are shared in real time. While this connectivity fosters creativity, collaboration, and global awareness, it also introduces challenges such as the pressure to curate an idealized online persona and also navigate through misinformation. Very important. Social media's omnipresence influences everything from friendships and self-esteem to career aspirations, as many young people dream of leveraging those platforms for professional success. These are the influencers, and we've got them here. Growing up online means balancing the excitement of endless possibilities with the need for digital literacy and mental health awareness in an ever-connecting world. And that's our broadcast for today. Thanks to my guests for being here on set with me. You can follow me on Facebook, on Threads, Instagram, LinkedIn, and now Blue Sky, or TikTok at Vince Rocco, or my website, thinkvince.com. Elton John and Bernie Taupin, two of my favorites, always said, always remember how wonderful life is while you are in the world. And from all of us here at Talking New York Real Estate and the More Network to all of you all around the world, thanks for spending a part of your day with us. I am grateful. I will see you next time. Goodbye, everybody.